Get you the important hire you need, just like they have for over 3 million businesses. Right now, Indeed is offering our listeners a free $75 credit to boost your job post, which means more quality candidates will see it fast. Try Indeed out with a free $75 credit at Indeed.com/Fox. This is their best offer available anywhere. Go right now to Indeed.com/Fox. Terms and conditions apply. Offer valid through December 31st.
The Missouri couple accused of pointing guns at protesters who approached their home in court today.
In a brief hearing in St. Louis, a not guilty plea from Mark and Patricia McCloskey on felony weapons charges after the couple, seen in viral images, pointed their guns at protesters in June, who broke into their private neighborhood and, according to the McCloskeys, threatened to harm them.
At this moment in history, if you stand up for yourself and for the values our country was founded on, the mob, spurred on by their allies in the media, will try to destroy you.
The McCloskeys spoke during the RNC in August. Missouri's Republican Governor Mike Parson, critical of St. Louis prosecutors, has said if convicted, the couple will be pardoned. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A federal judge has ruled that Tennessee's 48-hour waiting period law for abortions is unconstitutional. The 2015 law required women to make 2 trips to an abortion clinic, first for mandatory counseling, then for the procedure at least.
Sony released this week the Nasal HD 340s, a brand new pair of high-quality nose buds designed to let users blast different scents into their nostrils throughout the day. The Onion let consumers across the nation sound off about their excitement for the new product.
I've always got them in my nose. At work, at the gym, on the bus, wherever. These days, I can't stop smelling tennis ball.
Retailing for $49.99, the nose buds accompany the launch of Sony's new online odor store, which sells over 22,000 different smells for download and immediate inhalation. Still, not everyone is quite as enthusiastic about the new product.
These things suck. I mean, a lot of times it only works out of the right nostril. The other day I tried smelling picnic table. It smelled more like hardwood floor. And also, to be honest, I have a really hard time breathing with these things on.
This is the Onion News Network.
The Supreme Court's sidekick, Kid Justice, is killed by mad genius Dr. Contempto. Thousands of elderly Japanese Americans are rounded up for an internment camp's 70th reunion, and a report confirms the habitat of Bengal tigers is now down to a studio apartment in Jaipur, India. As it was once prophesied in the weekly news recap videos of old, here now it emerges before your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Local man Matthew Hunker announced this week that he has such strong brand loyalty to Mazda that he's willing to kill for the Japanese car brand. Hunker told reporters that if he hears anyone say anything negative about Mazda's cutting-edge features, or if anyone places any other car brand above the award-winning line of 2013 Mazdas, he will, quote, personally beat them to death.
You think I wouldn't slit your goddamn throat in the name of Mazda? You think I'm f***ing around? Go ahead, say something bad about the top-rated Mazda 6, or the award-winning CX-5. See what f***ing happens. I f***ing dare you. You think I'm afraid to go to jail?
This is the Onion News Network.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, the only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria and Mark Edge. I don't think we've ever actually just sat here alone doing the show before, but here we are. Mark, welcome back from your Florida trip. I see you came back with a puppy, or 2 puppies, actually.
Yeah, we got some puppies. My mom, her dog passed away earlier this year, and she wanted a couple of puppies, or she wanted a puppy, and we went to buy her a puppy, and I saw the other puppy, which wasn't show quality. My mom was a delegate for the state convention, delegate to the AKC for many years, the American Kennel Club. And so to her, it's very important that a dog be show quality, and she's going to show the dog and all that sort of thing. But
okay, so you do intend to show one of these dogs? I mean, that sounds like a sizable investment of time and energy.
Sure. I mean, it's a hobby, and you got to like it to do it. I would not show the dog. And I made that very clear to the breeder that, should I end up with this dog at somehow, and I believe that might not be, the least likely circumstance. My mom's 79, that I'm not showing it at all. But the puppy that she had. She got. I'm tempted to use her language because she talks about it. So she calls it the bitch because it is a female dog.
Yes, it
and
is.
That's how they talk.
Bitch. Yes,
they. People in the show world literally say when they talk about a female dog, they call it a bitch, and it is. So the bitch had a brother, and he was kind of a pet quality dog, and I felt bad for him, so I bought him so they wouldn't be lonely. His mom had abandoned the whelping box. The dad never had liked the puppies, so he was going to be there by himself once the sister was gone, and so I didn't want that to happen. So they're together and causing twice as much trouble.
Awesome. That's exactly how I ended up with 2 cats as well. I was looking for 1 cat, and I ended up finding some. They were brother and sister, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take the calico here. I don't want the black cat. And she's like, no, you have to take them both. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't want to leave one here abandoned without its siblings, so I'll take them both.
Yep.
And one of the best decisions that I've ever made, really.
Right. It's going to be such a traumatic, I'm not saying long-term traumatic for a puppy because they'll forget about it at some point or another, but that day, that week following, it's going to be traumatic, especially for the one that's left and isn't getting the attention. So,
I mean, because that's the one, that their sibling has been with them through their entire lives. That's who they know. That's who they trust.
Right.
And then suddenly their sibling is gone and they're still there in the kennel or whatever, wondering if they're ever going to be loved.
Indeed.
Sad. I wish more people had that perspective. And, I have to admit, as I said, it wasn't my initial intention to adopt 2 cats or to steal 2 cats, rather. These were rescues, and I was just going to rescue one of them and provide the other one, give the other one to a friend. But the person I was rescuing these cats from insisted that I rescue both of them and keep them together. And that was a good call on her part. And that woke me up to this idea that, it would have been wrong for me to separate these 2 creatures, especially I would never do it today because I've seen how bonded they are, but it's a real thing.
So these puppies are French bulldogs, which are basically bred into incompetence as a dog, right? Like they're not good sniffers, they're not good runners, they can't find birds, they can't do anything. They're what you call in the dog world a companion dog because they're good at hanging out with you and liking you, right?
Okay. Most dogs are pretty good at that.
Yeah, well, not all dogs are, mind you. Some dogs are just too active to really, but whatever. They're a good companion dog. The funny thing we say is that, in fact, we bought a companion dog for the companion dog because we bought the dog to keep the other dog company.
Well, welcome back. Apparently you missed it. There's a new system of robot drug dealers on Telegram that allow people to buy illegal products for Bitcoin and presumably probably
I did miss this. I missed this completely. I've never heard this at all. Go ahead.
Coming to us from news.bitcoin.com, while many darknet markets have fallen to the wayside, including Silk Road, a slew of new types of methods when it comes to selling illegal drugs online has risen. For instance, the world's largest DNM in Russia. I assume that stands for darknet market.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the funny thing is that the United States federal government made a big deal about taking down Ross Ulbricht, calling him, the Dread Pirate Roberts, at least at one point or another, and suggesting that they gave him 2 life sentences to send a message to the world that we will not have dark net drug markets. And before the trial even begins, there are a half a dozen darknet markets up and operating, doing what the Silk Road had done. And now there's probably dozens of them out there, and they've gotten better.
Oh, there are probably hundreds by now.
I don't know the feds have really ever taken another one down, and if they have, they certainly didn't take them down in the way that they took down Silk Road. So this, these 2 life sentences they gave this guy obviously did nothing. And
except really ruin his life.
Well, that.
And they should recognize that and undo those life sentences for sure.
FreeRoss.org.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. It's just like when the Pirate Bay was taken down briefly. They were successfully taken down by the U.S. authorities for about a 3-month period.
The Pirate Bay is not drugs. It is basically music and movies and stuff. It is copyrighted
material generally. I mean, there is some stuff on there that isn't copyrighted and that people are just using to, file share their stuff, and that's great. But when the Pirate Bay went down, it didn't end torrenting.
No.
It just created a whole lot more torrent sites.
Well, remember Napster, eDonkey.
Napster's an even better example, yeah.
Right. All these websites that existed before that were doing peer-to-peer sharing of people's music. And it's kind of an interesting question is obviously it was always illegal for me to take my, my Tones on Tails CD and burn another CD or make a cassette copy of it.
Was that always illegal? Because I mean, not in all capacities, because you do have the right to like record a song that you're listening to off of the radio.
I don't think you have the right to record a song you're listening to off the radio necessarily, but they certainly had equipment to do it.
But you clearly have the right because DVRs are a thing now, and you can record live television and stuff like that as it comes in to consume later.
Okay, maybe you can use it for your own personal, but not. I don't know. I don't know what the distribution is. I don't know.
Sure,
but
I'm not an IP expert. Certainly,
it's an interesting question. This is because certainly when I was a kid in high school, we were making tapes and we were sharing them with each other. We make mixtapes and share them with each other.
Yeah,
and it was a hobby and it was a lot of fun to do, and. You can't digitally share across miles with your friend, and you can't digitally share across miles with a stranger. So really, what's the difference?
What is the difference between recording a song onto a cassette tape as it plays on the radio and mailing that to a friend versus sending them an MP3 of what I recorded off the radio? To me, there's no difference because copying isn't stealing.
I don't remember, but I had an EP from the Dead Kennedys that the one side of the tape was blank, and it said on it, the bootleg recording of music is killing the music industry. We've left this side blank for your recording pleasure. Or something to that effect. Basically saying, record away.
That is awesome. I thought it was going a different direction. In which case, okay, good. I'm with the Dead Kennedys on that then. Because the music industry is still here and it's still doing just fine. It may actually die because of COVID-19 and the shutdowns. But I mean, all they had to do was remodel their entire thing to where it wasn't about album sales or anything like that. It was all about, live performances and selling merchandise. That's all they had to do. They didn't want to do it. But that's all they really had to do. But now they can't do live performances either. They can't sell albums now because streaming is still a thing and piracy is still a thing. So the entertainment industry is not in a good spot.
Right. I mean, and it's funny. People still want to be told what the big song is. People don't want to go out and, for whatever reason, go on some of these websites that'll let you find new music that fits what you're liking or whatever. They want to be told, this is the hit. Listen to this.
Really?
And
I'm not sure that's true because
not everybody, but there's still enough people out there that want that. And it's
Spotify
strange.
is extremely popular and it knows my musical taste very well. I mean, it creates daily mixes for me.
But it's not giving you these marginal artists that are from San Diego or something like that. It's giving you the people that had a hit, right?
I guess. I don't know that I would consider like In This Moment to be a major band, and they're the ones
I wouldn't
who
be able to tell
mind.
you.
I wouldn't either. I mean, they played at the Palladium in Worcester, so they can't be huge. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of US dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. U.S. Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the U.S. dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, the only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Mark.
And we're talking about this article from Bitcoin.com. That's actually news.bitcoin.com, because there's a lot to find at Bitcoin.com, including an exchange that you can, or a peer-to-peer exchange that you can find at local.bitcoin.com. They do also have an actual exchange where you can buy Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin directly from them. If you're not a U.S. citizen, or if you know how to use a VPN, you can find that at exchange.bitcoin.com. But most importantly, if you want to learn about cryptocurrency, check out bitcoin.com. They have everything you need to know. Or if you just want to keep up to date on the news in the crypto world, news.bitcoin.com is the place to go to. That's what we're using tonight to talk about this darknet sort of bot on Telegram, which is a chat application for those who are unfamiliar with it, that people can actually message to buy illicit things, most notably drugs.
Right. So this is, to point it out, I've been on the dark web one time. Over the course of 1 week, I'd say.
Well, we're on national radio, so I have to say I have never utilized the dark web in any capacity whatsoever.
There's nothing illegal about going on the dark web.
I still have not used the dark net in any capacity whatsoever.
So I went to, as a reporter, to talk to Dread Pirate Roberts and find out, see if I could put together an interview, ask some questions, these kind of things. And, I spoke with Dread, typed messages back and forth with the Dread Pirate Roberts or whomever was sitting in for him and handling his messages. I don't know. But And I went and looked around the Silk Road. What do they have here? In some cases, they had, handmade bags and just a variety of things that are available. And they had drugs, And I just wanted to
safe, reliable drugs using a market system where, the vendors actually were rated and checked and were not scammers.
More safe, more reliable drugs, right? So if you go to buy drugs from some guy on the street corner and you don't know what you're getting, maybe you're getting something benign, maybe you're getting something poisonous, maybe you're getting the drug you're looking for. Who knows what you're getting? But with these drugs, people are getting rated. They may claim that the drugs have been tested. They can claim all kinds of things. And if you're dealing with a seller who has a great rating, just like on eBay, the chances are that you're going to get what you're looking for. And so there's two advantages to these dark market drug purveyors. People who do drugs, and best I can tell, we haven't managed to stop that from happening. So people who do drugs,
clearly, despite the drug war,
get the drugs that they're looking for, which is good, right? Like if you're looking for crank, is that the name of it? That's the name. Crank. Yes. If you're looking for crank and you get rat poison, you're going to kill yourself, and that's not good for anybody. So, that's a good thing.
Well, it's good for the government in that they can use it as an example of why people shouldn't be buying crank. Look what happened.
Right.
I mean, that's part of why they poisoned, alcohol during the Prohibition era.
They poisoned marijuana. They poisoned a variety of things. The federal government, these government agents they just lose their minds.
If someone's not obeying, we have to do something.
We have to do something
kill them
to stop this.
We have to deter them from making these choices that we don't approve of.
And law enforcement against prohibition has shown, over and over again, this is just stupid. You're not going to stop the war on drugs. In fact, I'll go right now and I'll congratulate drugs on winning the war on drugs.
Oh, they won unequivocally. It was no contest.
Right. But, there's other winners. There's bureaucrats and police officers and sheriffs all over America and law enforcement agents of all stripes that are basically hired to hunt down people doing drugs and people selling drugs and these kinds of things. And
I'm hoping that part of my message gets out more than any other in this sheriff campaign, because I think that if more people understood that all the police are really doing is they're enforcing the drug war. If they actually stop that, I think most Americans would realize very quickly that we have 10 to 15 to 20 times the number of police officers in the United States that we actually need. These people need the drug war in order to justify their jobs, because otherwise they're just sitting around in the office all day waiting on a crime with a victim to actually come in, and those are extremely rare compared to someone smoking pot.
And you can't talk about racism in America, modern racism in America, without discussing the drug war. Like, you cannot divorce those two things from the other.
Because police are predators. They target what they perceive to be the weakest person in a given area, and that's always going to be the LGBT communities or the black communities or the Hispanic communities, because they don't have the support infrastructure that, straight cis white people do.
Right. Dave Chappelle did a bit where he was, hanging out with his white friend. This is imaginary. This is a bit, right?
Right.
He's hanging out with
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, his white friend, and they're lost in New York City, and the white friend goes up to a cop and says, "Hey, I'm stoned. Can you help me get from one place to another?" or something like that. And the cop's like, hey, sure. You can just go down here, and there. Right. And, just sort of illustrating that a black person would never stoned go to a cop. Is this what he's suggesting? I don't know. I have never been black in New York looking to get directions. So I don't have any relationship to that.
Well, for people out there who want directions, don't ever go to the cops. Go to the pizza place that you see on this corner, because those people will know exactly how to get to everywhere in the city, and they'll know the most efficient routes for doing it.
Right. And so the other thing that, besides safer drugs, which is good for everybody who's not a cop, basically.
Yeah, because then we don't have, heroin addicts dying in their apartments because their heroin was laced up with fentanyl.
Right. Besides those drugs, it's also safer, right? So if your loved one is doing drugs, would you prefer them to go out into some dark alley someplace, with somebody who could knock them over the head and take their money? And it would be very difficult for them to report it to the police, because I got news for you. Police don't care if you get robbed while you're trying to buy drugs. And Or
I guess that's true. I've never given it much thought, but I guess that's true.
They just don't much care. I would suggest that by and large are like, stop doing illegal things. You won't get in trouble.
You presumably wouldn't tell them that you were buying drugs.
It depends on the circumstances as to how you get robbed, but you're significantly safer receiving a package in the mail. I have seen somebody receive these things, and basically it's an innocuous package that comes in that's got drugs hidden in it. And there you go. And end of story. They're safe. Everybody's safe.
Another problem with the drug war is that people like in Russia are making this thing called crocodile. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Its existence is here in the United States. It's not nearly as prevalent, but it's basically they can't get heroin because of the drug war. So they go into a pharmacy and they buy some sort of opiate and they cook it up into something that's like heroin, but it's just like the impure street versions of crystal meth that you see, except it's worse. It causes actual necrosis on the flesh. It causes people's skin to actually rot off. It causes them to develop alligator skin. It's absolutely horrific, and it would not exist if people could just go into the store and buy heroin.
Right, and what we've found, what studies have shown, and I don't know if it's true across the board, but studies have shown that basically you have the same amount of drug addicts with enforcement of drug laws and without.
Yeah.
And what that suggests is that basically all you're doing with the drug war is employing a bunch of bureaucrats and making people's lives more miserable. The worst thing about the drug war is the enforcement of the drug war, not the drugs.
Yeah, because people end up in jail, they end up in prison, or they end up dead on the streets, killed by cops in all too many cases. This is Free Talk Live.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior, when the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man, woman, and child in the untouchable cast. Only the traitor, Ashok Vadal, and the Sons of the Black Sword stand in his way. If it's war he wants, it is war he will get. Bain Books presents Destroyer of Worlds. Available September 1st, wherever books are sold. Visit MonsterHunterNation.com for more.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria and Mark. And we're talking about this replacement for darknet markets. It's sort of a decentralized effort, except it isn't, because the bot is being programmed by a specific group of people and they can all be caught at any given moment. What alarms me, though, to get back briefly to this article, it talks about Hydra, which is the world's largest darknet market.
I didn't even know that.
It leverages a complicated system of vendors who utilize drop zones.
What's that mean?
Well, it means instead of mailing it to you, the vendors, they hook you up with a vendor near you and they drop off a package somewhere, I guess.
And then
and you just hope you go by and pick it up before some curious person does.
This is the way intelligence organizations have worked over time. Yeah.
Okay. Alarmingly, a great number of darknet market customers have used messenger applications like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and then it finally mentions Signal and Telegram and others to procure some drugs. Look, if you're buying drugs on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, you can go ahead and bitch your chains on you now, because
WhatsApp is owned by Facebook.
Yes, and both of these...
It's encrypted, though.
So Facebook says. But
Okay.
Facebook is probably reading WhatsApp messages. I would be surprised if they weren't.
One would presume, if they have access to it. It's not like they care anything about your information otherwise.
Yeah, those would be the worst possible communication methods, other than tweeting about it publicly.
It says end-to-end encryption.
Really?
So that's what it says. WhatsApp is called end-to-end encryption. So it could be that they're telling the truth with it. End-to-end encryption would indicate that in order to take your information, they would be lying if they took your information. So end-to-end means it's encrypted at one end and unencrypted at another.
Yes.
So Facebook shouldn't have access to it, but...
Unless they built a backdoor into it.
What would be the purpose of Facebook acquiring WhatsApp? I don't know the answer to this. I'm simply asking a question.
I don't either.
What would be the purpose of Facebook acquiring WhatsApp if they can't use it to increase their advertising and promotion and continue to put together the profile that they have of you right now? Because remember, Facebook is basically an extension of the NSA. I mean, it's a for-profit extension of the NSA because they work hand in hand with the government. If the government needs any information on you, they can get it.
Well, let's go to the phones. We've got Don calling from Pennsylvania. Don, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. First of all, massive congratulations to you guys for your kittens and your puppies. I thought that was really awesome of you when I heard that you guys were adopting animals like that. That just goes to show you how big of a heart that you guys have, and I believe that there's special places in the afterlife. for people that show kindness to animals.
Yeah, I think that animals make life worth living, and this is something I've said over and over again in my life. Is look, you can have an immaculate house, and some people really do have immaculate houses, right? They have the leather couch, and the pillows are in exactly the right place, and the floor is completely clean. There's no dog hair in this place or that place, and there's no muddy footprint here or there. And obviously, you're supposed to clean your house, but you can either have an immaculate house or you can have the love that animals bring. And
I got to tell you, it is worth it. Just this past year, my wife and I had to. We don't have kids, and we've been married for almost 20 years now, and we had to put down 2 of our cats this year, and this has not been a kind year to us, and that's just. And I got to tell you, it is utterly heartbreaking because of how much love they showed you and how much love you get to show them. So,
and this is one of the worst things about COVID. Now with COVID, not only your human family members, but your pet family members too, you can no longer be with them in those final moments. That you have to go to the vet's office in many places in America.
Well, you still can. I mean, there was Jazzy here who was euthanized here.
We had to work very hard to get the Studio Beast euthanized by a vet that would come here and do it here.
Sure.
And it's possible for people to do it. It's just the marketplace must demand it. And right now, people go to their vet and they treat their vet like their doctor. And they, well, what are we going to do? Well, it's time for, to put the animal down. Okay, how are we going to do that? We're going to take it in and everything's going to be great. And then we'll bring you out, we'll let you order the ashes or however one disposes of the remains.
When the time comes for my cats to be put down, if a vet has the audacity to stand there and tell me I can't be there with them, I'm going to knock that vet the hell out.
Well, I think the best thing to do is start looking for a vet that can help you with this inevitable issue that we ultimately have to deal with.
My cats are like 5 years old, so ideally I've still got a decade to spend with them.
Yeah, unless they're obese.
Yeah.
So I've had them for a while. So my cats, they're not new. Mark's puppies are new.
Go ahead.
Right. But either way, the fact that you would open your heart to cats and to Mark opening up puppies just says all kinds of things about your character. And this is frankly my first time listening to your show. So please know I have a lot of respect for you guys for doing that.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. What's on your mind?
Quick, though, I wanted to talk about real quick what you were talking about, like the differences between like recording a song off the radio versus the MP3s and why it's a big deal. The big deal is back in the day when you were talking about the Dead Kennedys. You get a Dead Kennedys tape. In order for you to record it, based from what I remember of doing it, it takes maybe about an hour to listen to a full tape, front and back. It takes about 20 minutes for you to real simply record it and go, here to your friend, here's a copy of the Dead Kennedys CD. And it takes a lot of time for you to do that. So you'd be lucky and say like maybe 3 hours in one night if you could get, say, 10 tapes out if you were pushing it.
Right.
Whereas now, if you got the Dead Kennedys full MP3 on a torrent site, anybody from all over the world can download it in under 5 minutes.
Yep.
And we're not talking about like 10 people like you would. We're talking about like hundreds and hundreds and thousands, almost like literally millions of people.
Opportunity costs are certainly higher in creating a cassette copy.
I mean, we saw exactly this sort of thing with the invention of the printing press, though. It used to be a laborious, tedious process to copy a manuscript. Then the printing press was invented, and it became substantially easier. It didn't kill the literature industry. It only improved it. But the literature industry had to adapt to the existence of the printing press.
Right. But the literature industry in 1500 Germany is something very different than what it ultimately became. Like the idea, because you're also dealing with, like, you were dealing with people that were basically illiterate. I mean, the way that people got their Bible reading, so to speak, was they listened to the priest speak in Latin and read it in Latin to the people. And you're lucky if the people, say, in this German village not only spoke German, but they also understood what Latin was.
Well, they didn't. I mean, the church went out of its way to make sure that the Bible couldn't be translated into a language that the average person could read because it was all about control.
And we saw a bunch of changes over time. But, I mean, ultimately, what we're so on the other side, right, the intellectual property laws went after Ice-T for creating Ice Baby, right? So the baseline is very similar, if not the same, to Under Pressure by Queen.
Oh, that was Vanilla Ice, not Ice-T. It took
I'm
me a
sorry.
really long time to figure out what you were trying to say.
I misspoke.
Ice-T is not despicable.
All right. Well, either way, you can't argue that Ice Baby isn't a great song. It's a compelling song, and it is.
I honestly don't think I've ever heard it.
Okay. Well, it's we'll listen to it in the break.
No, we won't.
Either way, there's art that is prevented from occurring without because of these IP laws, and most of them are created largely around Mickey Mouse, which is very frustrating. Is that Sonny Bono and Mickey Mouse are the most important figures in IP law, and I think we need, at the very least, something better. And sure, I think people should be able to share.
When you said they were created around Mickey Mouse, what do you mean?
I'm going to explain that. Would you like to stay over, caller, and discuss this a little more?
Yeah, Don, stick with us for a few more minutes. We got more to discuss about intellectual property and evidently Mickey Mouse and how that plays into the entire situation. I don't deny that Disney is a popular and powerful figure in the entertainment industry, but I'm curious to hear more. 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. And we really need a device sitting here that starts recording as soon as we go out to commercial, because I'm here with Mark and we talk about some of the most asinine things during the breaks. Like that was
and we disagree on everything in life.
Pretty much,
we really do.
But we also agree that we should be free to disagree. So we agree on that one point.
Yes.
But we were just having a discussion about rock music and what rock music is supposed to be, and about whether or not Bob with the Bob by Kid Rock is a great song. So God, we need to record some of these for sure. But
I'll send my best to all my homies in Cell Block H.
But we're talking with Don from Pennsylvania here. But Mark, before we go
Cell
back
Block 6. Anyway.
Before we go back to Don, you were talking about Mickey Mouse as it relates to intellectual property. And I assume you meant Mickey Mouse as a symbol of the power of Disney?
No. I mean specifically the character.
Okay.
So there's basically two, when talking about intellectual property laws in America, it's very difficult to have a conversation without talking about two people. Sonny Bono, as in Sonny and Cher, who was at one point a representative or a senator or something like that from California. And he put together, I think it was 99 years plus the artist's lifetime or something like that. And you have to remember that we live in a country whose national anthem, the music behind the national anthem, is from the
hymn that people like singing to the state of
that song is an English drinking song. It is stolen by the standards that we talk about today. Now, they used to do that all the time.
So they just took the lyrics and changed them?
There's a reason that the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the ABCs go to the same song. A, B, C, D, E, F, twinkle, twinkle, right? It's the same song.
Sure.
And no one is outraged, right? But somehow, if you take the bass line from Under Pressure and put it to your new rap song, it's a capital case. And I say that, obviously this is an infringement upon art. And by the way, rap is full of sampling and these sorts of things. Let's talk about Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse will, again, in the near future, his copyright will come up again because it keeps on coming up and the government keeps on acquiescing to Disney and extending out Mickey Mouse's copyright because Disney is all about the intellectual property. Now, this is the same very rich, very powerful organization that had, I think it was several billion-dollar movies in 2019. I mean, they are powerful, and the government just keeps on saying, "Okay, well, you're Mickey Mouse is old," and they don't want somebody to be able to use Mickey Mouse and make cartoons or comics or whatever with this intellectual property. And they're very concerned with that. And basically, I don't know what's going to happen in 50 years. 50 years from now, when Disney is still pushing Mickey Mouse, I mean, it's just ridiculous. At some point or another, a character needs to come into public domain.
I would agree.
Paul Bunyan is.
Disney, Mickey Mouse is basically obsolete. I mean, he's got this little show that's for like toddlers, for people who are ages like 2 to 4. But after that, Mickey Mouse is non-existent. I mean, we're not talking about the 90s here where there was Goof Troop and all of these other derivatives of Mickey Mouse. We're talking right now, there's only the Mickey Mouse show. I don't even remember what it's called now.
I don't remember what it is either.
It's a shadow of its former self.
I know that They Might Be Giants wrote the theme song for it, and it is quite an earworm.
Yeah, it is. My nephew loved that song when he was growing up.
Yep.
So let's get back to Don, who was talking about this subject. Don, are you still with us?
I am. Thank you very much.
So Mickey Mouse, do you think it should be public domain at this point?
Well, you know what? It's funny you should mention that because, like, when I'm not doing what I'm doing, I'm actually a writer. And I'm constantly looking for public domain characters to try and reinvent. And there's also several Facebook groups that I'm a part of dedicated to public domain superheroes. Comic books that were printed about the same time when Batman and Superman first appeared. But for whatever reason, their copyright fell out of their copyrights fell out, and they are now public domain characters that you can now use.
There's quite a few of them out there. I wouldn't even. I think The Shadow is one of them. Perhaps Dick Tracy and a few of them out there. But
I don't think those guys are.
Okay.
I don't think those guys are. But like lesser known guys called the Black Terror, the Black Fury, U.S. Jones.
As a writer myself, Don, I'm sorry, I have to say that I disagree with the idea entirely. Once I publish something, I'm making it public. It becomes public as soon as I publish it. That's what it means to publish something. If you don't want people to use your characters, then don't publicize your work. Don't make it available to the public. To me, art is something that it's not just something the creator experiences. It's something that the readers experience. It's something that the listeners experience.
And I would also point out that in the case of comic books, for instance, Simon & Schuster died in poverty. Jack Kirby was never happy with how he was compensated, and Stan Lee stole all the limelight from this. The guy who's
the only one of those names I know is Stan Lee.
Right. Yeah. Jack Kirby. We are living in Jack Kirby's world. This guy was the greatest comic artist to ever exist and co-creator in many ways. I mean, I think that, in my opinion...
My apologies to the listener. Mark sometimes nerds out about superhero books and comic books and all that.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the big company always takes the money and the artist always gets screwed in the current system.
So did Jack Kirby invent all of these superheroes and Stan Lee stole them?
Stole may not be the right term, but he took co-creator credit.
It's the best way to look at it is look at what happened with Batman between Bob Kane, who created the concept of a guy wearing taking a bat as theme for a costume, and another individual named Bill Finger, who basically said, let's give him a darker costume with the pointed ears, and led to all the stories, and he basically fleshed out the idea to what Batman is today. When you see him in a cartoon or a movie, it's pretty much a lot of that is, for lack of a better term, the assistance of Bill Finger. And
I would argue that it's tragic that Kane didn't, get credit from the other author, from the other comic book creator in this case. But if he hadn't been free to take the concept of Batman and turn it into this concept that was glorified and was popularized, we wouldn't have Batman today. So to me, this was a good thing. It was screwed up of the guy who co-opted it to not give proper credit.
Think of all the waste. I mean, there's certainly some opportunities for people to get ripped off of their ideas in different ways, and they're currently getting ripped off with their ideas, and that happens all the time. But all the waste that goes into these IP attorneys and these comic book companies that sued each other for decades over these characters, and the gigantic amount of, every 10 years or something, Marvel and DC will trot out these old-ass characters that they have just so that they can retain the copyright. The Whizzer from, who's ever heard of this, right?
I've never heard of this.
Oh, yeah.
And
Squadron Supreme and everything.
Right, a whole bunch of stuff. They'll put out something, and they're not putting out...
that's what Ant-Man and the Wasp were.
Yeah, Ant-Man was a bit of an afterthought. He was he couldn't support a comic on his own, but when teamed with characters like Thor, Hulk, Captain America, and the rest of them, he was he made a fine team player. They quickly turned him into Goliath in the second issue of Avengers, but or Giant Man, and then Goliath after that. Whatever the case may be. The creators of these often were paid per page, and that was how they got paid. The Marvel kept all the intellectual property, or DC, and even today, intellectual property laws still don't benefit the people that make the biggest arguments for them. You'll always have a photographer or a writer or an artist or something like that call in about arguing for intellectual property laws. And, big companies are the ones that lobby the big government to create the law, and it always benefits them.
Right, exactly. It's one of the reasons why there's such a huge explosion of publishing on the internet for what it is, because it's sort of like now, like why should I jump through the hoops when these guys are going to get money? Back in the day, I was at one comic convention where a creator was talking about.
So I got to interrupt you because we're coming to a close here, but I have to ask, you spoke out initially about how, mass distributing content was different from just recording a cassette for your friend.
Right.
Those laws in place were created by these very same big companies that, you just agreed with Mark about. So does that affect your position on, widely distributing content?
Well, it's a weird thing because, like, if you're somebody that is, like, say, if you're Taylor Swift famous, yeah, you're going to have one opinion. However, if you're working 3 jobs and you play guitar at a bar on Friday.
I hate to cut you off.
Right. It absolutely benefits the small artists to have these distribution methods.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior. When the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man, woman, and child in the untouchable cast, only the traitor Ashok Vadal and the Sons of the Black Sword stand in his way. If it's war he wants, it is war he will get. Bain Books presents Destroyer of Worlds. Available September 1st, wherever books are sold. Visit MonsterHunterNation.com for more.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DiviProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DiviProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DiviProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
More questions. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, back in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, fielding questions on a number of topics. New Jersey Democrat Cory Booker asked her about racial disparity.
Well, Senator Booker, I would say that what I have learned about it has mostly been in conversations with people and, at Notre Dame, as at many other universities, it's a topic of conversation in classrooms, but it's not something that I can say, yes, I've done research on this and read X, Y, and Z.
I respect that you've answered the question.
California Democrat and Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris asked to be put on record that she feels the proceedings lacked legitimacy and are being rushed.
Americans are right now suffering from a deadly pandemic, and we are also suffering a historic economic crisis. The Senate should be working day and night to provide economic relief to families and not rushing a Supreme Court confirmation.
The hearing is expected to conclude tomorrow. President Trump said to hold a rally soon in Des Moines, Iowa. Before he left, he commented on Judge Barrett's handling of the questions.
Amy, I think, is doing an incredible job.
The president also said his teenage son Barron is doing fine after it was revealed earlier this afternoon that he had tested positive for COVID-19 but is now negative. The Biden campaign put out a statement about the president's Iowa rally, reading in part, Iowans whose lives have been thrown into chaos need real leadership, not more division. And Biden says that he will bring the country together. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says President Trump told him to keep negotiating with Democrats to try to get a new round of coronavirus relief. He told Fox Business a deal could be reached quickly if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi compromises, but he said if they don't get it now, when the president wins the election, we'll get it passed quickly afterwards. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough, but you might be making it harder on yourself than necessary. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. It's time to upgrade to NetSuite. Stop paying for multiple systems that don't give you the information you need when you need it. Ditch the spreadsheets and all the old software you've outgrown. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need, all in one place, instantaneously. Whether you're doing 1 million or hundreds of millions in revenue, save time and money with NetSuite. Join the over 21,000 companies using NetSuite.
Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
New clues on how weather may impact COVID-19.
The findings of one study suggest COVID-19 may stick around all year, unlike the seasonal flu caused by respiratory viruses such as influenza A and B, which typically do best in cold, dry conditions. COVID-19, however, may not be slow. Research published in the journal Nature, which finds sustained transmission can happen in warm and humid places. Health officials have found that steps taken against COVID-19 in the southern hemisphere during its winter, in places like South Africa and Argentina, have also apparently blocked the seasonal flu. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Chicago adds to its list of areas that will require travelers to quarantine.
If you live in Indiana, New Mexico, North Carolina, and Rhode Island and expect to travel to Chicago, plan 2 weeks to self-quarantine there. That from the city's health department. 25 states and Puerto Rico now on Chicago's emergency travel order amid an uptick in.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to may be even more nervous than you are. And the way things are now, your references have never been more important. Here are 3 tips. First, know that employers are checking. Every hire is under the microscope these days. Second, they won't just be checking references you provide. Figure that all of your ex-employers will get a call and be asked, would you hire him or her again? Third, assume you will be Googled. So before you apply, remove all those party animal photos from your Facebook page. Even if you're not in the job market, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Thousands took to the streets to protest the NYPD's Stop and Kiss program. New Yorkers who've been stopped often say the encounters feel extremely intrusive.
Going through my pockets, throwing my stuff on the ground, kissing me on my neck and face. They push me up against the wall and start nibbling on my ear.
Joining us now is legal analyst Susan Hughes and Mark Brennan, a former police officer who has defended the Stop and Kiss program.
Look, it's one thing to kiss someone who you think might commit a crime, but these officers are just kissing people left and right with no probable cause.
If you've got nothing to hide, then it's not a problem. They just stop, ask where you're going, give you a gentle kiss or two, and let you go.
Mark, there have been examples, public examples, where these procedures have just gone too far. Let's take a look at a disturbing cell phone video that's been making the rounds on the internet.
Stop! Put your hands on your head. Oh, come on, man. They just kissed me 2 blocks ago. Come on, man. I didn't do anything. Shut the f*** up and let me kiss you.
Look, the cops can either kiss people now before there's violence, or they can be kissing a bunch of dead bodies at a crime scene.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Mark and Aria. And I just screwed up placing our dinner order, so that's going to take me a few minutes to fix. Mark, if you want to talk about something in the meantime.
Well, we're going to need. I'm going to need some show prep in order to do that. I'm afraid that I was. We were discussing intellectual property previously, or are we going to?
We were, but we got sidetracked from the discussion about the darknet bot into
I
that.
see. So this darknet bot situation is very interesting, and the reason is that in the case of the darknet, it's complicated to get on there. You got to turn up your Tor browser, and
it is complicated not to just get on there, but to as a user, but to actually create a site that is on the darknet. You know, I've decided that I want my campaign site to also be on the darknet. And I've been looking into how complicated that is, and it's not simple.
Okay. Again, I'm not familiar with this, but from a user side, what I'm saying is that this bot that's going to operate through the very popular messaging app called Telegram. So think of WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, or basically texting with bells and whistles. This messaging app apparently is going to allow one to have the anonymity that one wishes to have on the darknet, and have one's drugs brought to one, sent to one in some manner or another. And it's going to make it significantly easier for people to do. Now, I've never gone to the darknet. I've never bought drugs. It's not my lifestyle or anything like that. My drug of choice is widely available at liquor stores and, beer and wine distributors across America. So I don't care. But I
have to agree. I have to agree with you on that. My drugs of choice is caffeine and wine.
Right.
And both of those are very easy to buy, so I have no... But, I'm also a huge advocate of psychedelics, shrooms, LSD, and DMT, those sorts of things. And I think those should be as easy to acquire as caffeine and nicotine and alcohol.
Well, I think that any drug is dangerous, and one, should be intelligent and consider these things. However, all my feelings in the world don't stop 15-year-old morons from acquiring drugs. So my question is, can I minimize the harm that's done to these morons that will acquire these drugs?
I mean, that's exactly it. I don't want people doing crystal meth, right? I think it's a bad idea, and I would argue against it. But we can minimize the amount of damage they're doing to themselves.
Well, one of the things I'll say about things like crystal meth is that people are often introduced to harder drugs by their drug dealer, who's like, hey, I'm all out of weed or ecstasy or whatever, but I've got some of this crank or crack, right?
Sure.
And that, it's just what a loss leader, right? They're trying to get you hooked on this thing that's going to make them a lot more money. And that is largely eliminated on these darknet marketplaces, because one can get the drug that one wishes, which may be less addictive, less damaging, and these sorts of things. So
that's an excellent point.
The only tack I'm taking on this is harm reduction. I don't want your kids doing drugs. I certainly don't want my kid doing drugs. But I understand that when I was a kid, I did drugs, and
your kids will do drugs too.
I hope he doesn't. I'm trying to keep him away from his Uncle Ian. But
sure, but by educating him, right? Not by throwing him in a cage and telling him, no, that's bad. You did a bad thing. By being like, hey, look, these things they're not good.
Right. And I think that adults have a better mind space. They just have a better form of thinking to make decisions about this. So if somebody's at the age of 25 and thinks to themselves, I think that I could have a better experience on planet Earth should I try LSD to see how, my spiritual experience is, or something like that, right? Like, I like that approach rather than I've got $10, let's get effed up.
I agree. Well, let's go to the phones. We've got Dave calling from New Hampshire. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, folks. I wanted to update you on my attempt to help get one of your guests to speak at the University of New Hampshire.
Which guest is this?
So you've had a guest on your show before, Lily Tang Williams.
Yes.
She's from China, and she gives speeches on university campuses about her experiences there. And she wants to give a speech at the University of New Hampshire.
Right.
And so I have been trying to help set that up for her. And so I contacted the Young Americans for Liberty at UNH in Durham, New Hampshire. And they were immediately interested. When I called their number, it just went straight to the student that leads the organization.
Right. His rang a cell.
Sort of it's sort of Ron Paul's organization, I think. So he was immediately interested, but he indicated that if we didn't get university sanction to do it, like if we just showed up and gave the speech, if she gave the speech just by standing outside on a sidewalk or something like that, there would be a police response.
Really? You can't talk on the sidewalk at a university?
Apparently not. But I've had personal experience with this because I tried to hold a sign in 2005 on this campus on the side. Most of the time I was on the sidewalk, just on the right of way with the highway there. And I got a police response.
So our tax dollars go here in New Hampshire to this New Hampshire University. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a state university.
Yeah, it's interesting how they would come to the conclusion that they could exclude speech from the very people that pay to keep them open.
Well, they do it all the time.
Yeah.
David from New Mexico loves talking about it.
Yes. David in New Mexico is right. And
he is on that one point, yes.
There's just it's amazing. They say you've got freedom of speech, and then they rob you of the tax money that they want, and then they don't let you talk where you want to talk. Oh, you can go down to town square where all the hobos are and talk to them. But you're not going to come here with impressionable young people that might need to hear some different ideas than our overpaid academics might teach them.
Yes.
So, Dave, you said this is a Confucius Center update.
Yes, sort of. Now, let me finish. The next thing that happened was the Young Americans for Liberty president indicated, well, let me look into this. That was about 11 days ago now, and he became unresponsive. He didn't ever get back to me. So Lily called him, the person who would be speaking, and she left a message, and he didn't get back to her. And so I think that raises the question of whether the university, when he approached them,
disappeared him.
The university may have, I don't know about that, but they may have discouraged him from continuing his efforts to, I'm wondering if they may have discouraged him from continuing his efforts to have her speak.
It's certainly not impossible, but I imagine it's just that, he's a student and he's busy. That would be my first assumption.
Well, and plus universities are cesspools these days. There's just not any desire to hear different ideas. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they discouraged him. Maybe they didn't. I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other. But it's suspicious. That's for sure.
It absolutely
now,
is.
With regard to your question about the Confucius Center, that's the other question. Now, I didn't bring this up when I called the Young Americans for Liberty, but there is a Confucius Center on the university campus, and this is funded by the Chinese government.
Oh.
And there is a claim that these Confucius centers, or Confucius Institutes is the right word, they tend to discourage anything that criticizes the Chinese Communist Party on that.
Had to cut you off, but I mean, that's not surprising. That's pretty par for the course with the Chinese government.
On a multidimensional probe, the Syscov Trans-Temporal Vehicle Clio discovers 2 entire universes have been annihilated in a massive time-traveling accident. Robert Kaminsky and his crew race home with the news, only to learn their own universe is next. To pull off the impossible, they'll have to embrace the unpalatable by placing their trust in the admin, Syscov's xenophobic sister universe, and the same people who tried to kill them all only months before. The Valkyrie Protocol by David Weber and Jacob Hollow. Available October 6th, wherever books are sold. Visit Bainbooks at Bain.com for more.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
No, I can understand the time cue, but what I know is wiser than anything else. Like God created one day, I've created 4 simultaneous days in one rotation of Earth.
At what point did you become the wisest human, Gene Ray?
Well, I've learned everything. When you know everything, there's nothing to know.
Okay, well, now, you said you're getting ready to write a book on it. When can we expect to see it?
No, I don't have a publisher yet. A lot of morning touch it, and so...
you touch it in the morning?
Well, sometimes, not much.
Yeah. How old are you, Dr. Gene Ray?
I'm 78. Well, I told this black lady down in St. Pete, I said, when you die, you're going to come back as a white person. I said, I'm going to come back as a black person. I'm going to hate you hawkish.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Mark.
And you've heard us talk about Divi here on Free Talk Live, and maybe you've wanted to set up one of their easy-to-deploy masternodes or stake Divi so that you can start earning Divi right now. Well, Ian, here in the studio normally, has in fact set up a Divi masternode. He says it was super easy and that staking was even easier. We're not investment advisors here on Free Talk Live, but we think you'll be impressed with your earning potential with Divi as compared to traditional investment vehicles. Go to diviproject.org and get started. You can buy Divi in several exchanges or directly from the Divi team. Need help? There's a link to their Telegram channel right on the front page at diviproject.org. That's diviproject.org. Now, we've been talking about this darknet. It's not darknet. It's hard to describe exactly what this is. It's a Telegram bot.
Right. So Telegram is a messaging app. This is a messaging app interface with darknet drug marketplaces.
Sort of.
Okay.
Let's get into it because news.bitcoin.com here, they probably give a little bit more detail on exactly what it is and how it works than they should have. But recently, darknet market users have been leveraging a new messenger route that utilizes Telegram software program or a bot called Televend to facilitate drug trades. It's not hard to locate the relevant Televend links in order to catch a glimpse at this growing black market platform. According to the program's learning channel, there are a number of obstacles one must complete before leveraging the Televend route. The channel's pinned message also gives a brief description of what the bot does and how drug vendors can use the app. So presumably, what they're saying is you can just go on Telegram and search for Televend and you'll find the bot.
Okay.
Televend is an auto shop bot network for direct dealers. We administer the bots and vendors run them like private shops. The channel's message reads, customers can visit them and pay with Bitcoin, track orders and payments, plus leave feedback and ratings. Vendors control the listings and configuration of their bot via a .onion Tor-based control panel, so no Telegram account is needed to vend. At this control panel, they can add listings, process orders, answer messages, and other facilities and other features. So I guess you're correct. They have to be on the darknet in order to access this control panel. And the bot facilitates.
Who's they?
The vendors. The vendors.
Okay.
And Televend interfaces between people on Telegram and those vendors who are on the dark net.
Right. So presumably the vendors have some level of, programming savvy or whatever, the computer savvy. They understand these things. Whereas when I went on, I had no intention of buying drugs on Silk Road when I went in there to interview the Dread Pirate Roberts, but it was work just to get on this thing, and I can totally see that this would pare down the difficulties. It takes away some of the barriers that people would have to having safer access to the drugs that they probably shouldn't be doing, but are going to do, no matter what I say.
It has a number of neat little images here of, it works like any other bot does. You message it asking products. Presumably, as I understand it, a vendor creates their own instance of that bot and they may name it whatever, like, Aria's Televend bot or something like that. I obviously don't sell drugs on the dark market, but that's, an example. And they can just say to the bot products. And it says choose category of products. And here it's got listed cocaine, MDMA, weed, or 1 GBP. That's a British pound? Great British pound? Is that it?
Maybe.
What is a GBP?
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
Great Britain pound.
The creators of Televend claim that the system has around 200,000 users to date, but it's hard to verify as there are various Televend channels with different amounts of subscribers. The bots notify clients when some drugs are being sold at a discount or if a new blend of cannabis comes in. Those are cool features. Those are cool developments. I wish the government would get the hell out of the way so that we could have cooler stuff like that.
So, when you're talking about cannabis, this is simply making things easier in many states where cannabis is legal. The states where cannabis is legal are growing, soon recreational. At this point, medical cannabis is legal in more states than it's far more states than it's not. And recreational cannabis is coming along. And we haven't seen the world split wide open and demons emerge. I mean, are there...
Regrettably, says the Satanist.
Are there... you're an atheist. So these throw me off my mojo here. The states where this is legal, I mean, there's some problems, sure, but there's problems with alcohol being legal too, and there's always some teetotaler out there trying to make it so that you have to live the way they want you to.
Users can leave feedback ratings so other patrons can get a glimpse of trusted vendors operating within the Televend network. However, unlike operations like OpenBazaar or the myriad DNMs, I just prefer darknet markets on the deep web, Televend bot use is entirely based on trust. There is no escrow system, and so there's a much higher chance of being ripped off by scammers preying on newcomers. Well, that's going to be true in any new industry. I mean, you've just got to be careful with who you send your money to. About a month ago, a Reddit user posted a question about Televend on the subreddit r/darknet. In order to get information on the new platform, one person said a vendor told him that he left the darknet market Icarus to sell his drugs using the Televend system. Another user also noted that Televend was great. The creator of the thread described the software program as a messaging system, which is used for drug deals, but presumably you don't have to just use it for drug deals. If you had any sort of good that you wanted to sell people, you could use the Televend market to facilitate that. That would be awesome. Can you use the Televend bot to sell T-shirts or campaign signs after the election when they're no longer needed?
The reason that one would use would be sort of use the Televend system for drugs, and probably exclusively, is you can buy T-shirts anywhere you want on the internet, and it's easy. Whereas the hurdles that have been thrown up to prevent people from acquiring drugs more safely on the internet are myriad, and thus you have to go through the more difficult process of using this Televend situation. If I want to buy a T-shirt, I go to $6shirts.com and I go buy the shirts that I want.
Sure, but I have to say it would be super convenient to be like hanging out in the Free Talk Live chat and someone mentions a T-shirt, a Free Talk Live T-shirt, me to be able to just say, hey, bot, I want to buy this T-shirt, and have it shoot me a direct message that allows me to buy that T-shirt. That would be awesome.
Yep. Well, let's hope we can put that together with a new website that we're bringing out here relatively shortly.
Can you tell me anything about that?
Well, no. The more I tell you, the more I'm held to. So at this point, we're going into beta, and I've seen it work.
That's good.
Yeah.
No escrow, so you have to rely on feedback trusted vendors. Lots of scammers are on there, so you need to be extra careful. But again, that's good advice at all times. You should always be careful about who you're sending money to, especially over the internet. That's why I love systems like the Silk Road, and this rating system used on Amazon and other places on the dark web, because it allows you to know, hey, this is actually a reputable seller. This is someone I can trust. 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria and Mark. And we're going to move on here to a subject that is near and dear to both mine and Mark's hearts, the prospect of a $500,000 Bitcoin, or at least Tyler Winklevoss here is going to make the case for a $500,000 Bitcoin. And what I mean by that is that he thinks it's possible that Bitcoin can be worth $500,000 per coin. And this would be good for us.
Well, certainly it'd be good for freedom generally. So some of the advantages of cryptocurrency is that it really empowers the individual. It doesn't, the reason that you see all these banks, I mean, what does a bank do? Not much, but you got to keep the lights on, the power on, and all this stuff. And you see banks all over town, all kinds of different banks. Sure. Why is it that they're able to get away with it and give free checking accounts? It's kind of nefarious is the reasons.
Overdraft fees aren't helping. I mean, they make huge amounts of money off of overdraft fees. It's obscene, the amount of money they make from overdraft fees. But you're right. They don't really do anything. What they allow you to do is if they give you their permission, you can transfer some amount of your money somewhere else digitally, and that's what Bitcoin does, and you don't need anyone's permission. So gold and oil have historically been reliable stores of value because they are scarce commodities. They make dependable hedges to the inflation of fiat currencies. As a result, they have commanded price premiums above and beyond the demand for their consumption alone.
So it's important to point out what a fiat currency is. A fiat currency is a government-created money, so it's created by fiat, like fiat from the king.
Well, not necessarily. They could declare Bitcoin to be the fiat currency of the United States.
They could declare that.
Well, that's what fiat means. By decree.
Would decree it, right? All the fiat currencies in the world, all the government currencies in the world, are currently created out of thin air. They are backed by nothing, or backed by the full faith and credit of the American people, or whatever bullcrap they'll say. But let's point out, and this is really, really important, ladies and gentlemen. The basically, so what? We're at $26 trillion, $9 trillion worth of debt has been created in the United States. The U.S. dollar basically has been
a ridiculous amount. That honestly, that number means nothing to anyone.
Yeah, but let's say
it's
this.
So overwhelmingly huge that a human being can't even process a number that large.
A quarter of the U.S. debt was created in the last year.
Yeah.
And that's important, right?
Like, it is.
A quarter of the debt that your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren have to pay off, because we're still saddled with debt from it depends on how you want to calculate it, but you can go back as far as the Civil War and say that debt still rides. Most of the debt has been created in my lifetime.
Sure.
So I was born in 1971, and most of the debt is from that time frame. But a quarter of the debt we're currently dealing with, $27 trillion, I think, was created in the last year. And your currency, the U.S. dollar, this is important, Federal Reserve note. They're not lying to you when they tell you this is a debt-based currency. They say it right there on the bill. A note is like, what do you have in your house? When you have a mortgage in your house, you're carrying a note. A note is debt, and the Federal Reserve note is debt. And the United States borrows from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not the U.S. government. The U.S. government does not create money. Banks create money, and they've contracted with the United States to give them as much money as they want in debt. They're the lender of last resort. And at this point, they're the lender of first resort, too.
Yeah, because nobody else will loan the federal government money. Would you?
Well, the federal government's rating has diminished. And imagine how much it's going to diminish now with this huge amount of debt. There's no plan. Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for paying off the debt.
No, they just plan to print more money.
Joe Biden absolutely doesn't have a plan to pay off the debt. And George Bush, when he came in, I believe the debt was, when Clinton left the office, I think it was $5 trillion. When Bush left the office, it was 10. When Obama left, it was 20. And presumably, if Trump gets 8 years, like the rest of them did, it would then be $40 trillion by the time Trump leaves. And
that's a terrifying number. It's terrifying if I gave a crap about it. I mean, that's not my debt.
If you you say it's not your debt, but the federal government.
I didn't agree to pay that crap.
I understand you didn't. The federal government.
This is why I use Bitcoin, so I don't have to pay that crap.
Figures the debt at almost $250,000 per tax-paying entity.
They can do whatever calculations they like. I figure, the people responsible for this, there's probably 1,500 to 2,000 of them still alive who are really responsible for this. They can split that debt up among themselves.
Well,
and they can pay me in Bitcoin.
But they're not going to. And here's why.
Because they're immoral.
Was the slave owner ever going to go out and pick cotton? No. He wasn't.
That's why he had slaves.
The federal the income tax is a form of slavery. Admittedly, it's certainly not as bad as what chattel slavery was like in the antebellum South, but it is certainly slavery.
Yes, it is absolutely.
If you tell somebody...
At what point does it not become slavery?
Right.
Can I take 70% of your money, 60% of your money, 50%?
If the federal government can claim 1% of the fruits of your labor, it can claim 99% because it's just a different number that they've come up with. If they have the right to take 1% of your money, and remember, our founders fought fought a revolutionary war over a 3% tax. If they can take 1%, then they can take 99%.
Well, they can also take 1%.
The Democrats
100%.
will literally say no, they can't. The Democrats, because
well, they
people
can, but
wouldn't
then they
do it.
would have social welfare. We would have socialism.
Well,
where they would take all of the money and they would give us, the government-approved energy drink and the government-approved
The thing
dinner.
that doesn't work for socialism for slavery is that if you have two workers, one is a slave who cannot really make their life significantly better by working harder, and the other one is an hourly employee who can make their life better by working harder, working more hours, moving up in the company, you will get significantly better work out of the hourly employee. That there's just going to be more productivity.
So they have to let us keep at least 1% so that we can make an additional penny if we work really, really, really hard.
They have to walk the knife's edge of figuring out what the proper tax rate is to get a society to function at the highest level of productivity. And
they go
they're
so
not
far beyond
thinking that, right? Like the politicians aren't out there saying, we have to walk the knife's edge of figuring out the right tax rate to run a society productively. Well, there's productively. They're saying, we want more free stuff for you, and we're going to get you more free stuff, which of course is quadruple the cost of whatever it is that they're asking for, but they take it from the societal output, not your individual output. So the individual says, yay, I've got a pre-existing condition, and now I can get, the federal government to pay for that This is so awesome. This is a human right.
It goes beyond that because the federal government broke health care in the first place. And then the government came along and said, oh, now no one can afford health care. You have people begging the government to provide them with free health care. When the government did that,
yes,
it created this problem so that
over,
it could come
over a course of decades, but yes.
It did this intentionally, playing the long game.
I don't know if that's true.
Knowing that one day people will come along and be like, hey, we can no longer afford for this. Please take this whole thing into your hands. Please just take this control away from us. Take our money. Figure out how to make all of this work, please.
The free market would provide significantly less costly health care.
Yes, because the free market doesn't care if your doctor who's addressing your pneumonia has a PhD or a 4-year degree.
Not only has that ship left the port, it is beyond the horizon, though.
855-450-3733. More on this Bitcoin story that we barely even got into because we started ranting about the Fed, as we often do. 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have 2 convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. With you tonight, it's Aria and Mark, and we're talking about Bitcoin here, and how for the last 75 years, according to this article from someone Winklevoss, the U.S. dollar has also been a reliable store of value. I would say that's not really true. It was just the least bad of the available options. Gold was probably better?
Yeah. So gold's had its ups and downs, but there's certainly points in the calendar that, well, there's basically no point in the calendar at this point that you can go back to that gold wouldn't have been a good choice. But there's times when you could have bought gold higher and sold it lower in the course of, decades out there. But all in all, if you hold it long enough, long enough being years, then you're probably going to make money. And the reason is because the federal government continues to print money. And they continue to print money because no one's held them responsible. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you this. If we're not talking about you, I mean, maybe you could imagine you, but if you're not talking about you, think about your less responsible brother or sister or somebody in your family, maybe a cousin or something like that. You come up with them. If they could make money out of thin air and they experienced little to no consequences out of doing so, would they make money out of thin air or wouldn't they? And the federal government obviously can and obviously does. In just this millennia, just since year 2000, the federal debt has gone from $5 trillion to $27 trillion. And it's only going up.
With that said, we believe there are fundamental problems with gold, oil, and the U.S. dollar as stores of value going forward. Below, we will make the case that Bitcoin is ultimately the only long-term protection against inflation. I've got to disagree with them already before they even make this case, because I think gold is more likely to survive the next several millennia than Bitcoin.
Well, hold on just a second. So
how long-term are we talking?
Okay, let's break this down. How is gold made?
In stars.
The collapsing of the center of the collapsing of a neutron star,
yes.
Right? And stars are,
well, not a neutron star, but
I think it's a neutron star. Anyway, in the interior of a
neutron
star.
stars usually after they've supernovaed.
Somehow stars that are dying spit out gold.
Sure.
Okay. We can agree on that. Okay. We don't need to be astrophysicists here. We just need to say stars are big.
Sure.
And gold is spit out at a large speed. Somewhere out there is an asteroid, a rock in space, the size of our moon, made of gold.
Probably.
And we will be going out there. We are going out there, and we'll be going out there more often.
Probably. At
some point in the relatively, near future, when we're talking about eons, I don't know if it's 10 years or
I think it's going to be a few centuries,
years.
but I agree. Eventually, humanity may find an asteroid that's just solid gold.
And in which case, yeah, gold's not going to function. So once money is a way to allocate scarce resources.
Uh-huh.
And money will become far less valuable when the 3D printer can print the 3D printer.
Sure.
So when you can buy from your friend, when somebody can buy a 3D printer that will make 3D printers and lawnmowers and electronics, all the electronics you need, cell phones and scissors and everything that you need out of whatever it makes things out of, then you won't be going to the store to buy much.
Right, we're talking about a replicator style system,
right?
Essentially from Star Trek, where you can say, "Hey, 3D printer, I want this thing," and it prints you out the thing.
Yeah, I want somebody put out the new the schematics for the new cell phone, the new better cell phone. Make me that, and then take my old cell phone and obliterate it and use it to use the stuff in it to make the new one. And it just rearranges things and prints on a molecular level or whatever it does.
Yeah, it'll be super advanced technology. It's probably several centuries out, but yes, humanity will eventually have that technology.
And what will money be like? I don't know if it's that far out. We've got 3D printers today.
Yeah, and they're limited to plastic.
Can you run a lawnmower made out of plastic? It only has to last a season, and then you can make a new lawnmower. It doesn't take that long. You just push the button, and then in the morning you've got your lawnmower.
I'm not the one to ask whether or not you can have a lawnmower made entirely out of plastic, but I
don't
imagine
think centuries.
At this time,
I'm thinking a decade is how long it would be before we have 3D printers that are darned amazing and that can change things. Maybe I'm
even then. There's a big
optimistic.
difference between building a lawnmower and building a cell phone.
Fine. Once you can produce most of the things in your life for free or near free, money is going to become far less meaningful.
Sure.
And we don't know what it'll do to the marketplace. People are all worried about, what if people don't have jobs? What if they don't need them?
I agree with you entirely. This is why I oppose the UBI. Technology is keeping pace pretty well with the lack of job growth. I don't really care if robots or whatever, result in everyone being fired, because we do have so many ways of achieving abundance already, and we're not even to that technological point that you're talking about. We're not to the point where I can just 3D print whatever I want. I have to go out and I have to earn the money, and I have to actually buy the material or buy the phone, because we're also not in a place where I can actually assemble the phone. Even if I could print all the materials, I don't have the tools necessary to compile the cell phone parts.
Right. I understand that, but technology is increasing at a breakneck speed. I'm 50 years old. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 relatively shortly. And in my lifetime, what was called a supercomputer when I was born worked on punch cards and took up a room.
Yeah.
The computing power of that computer is dwarfed by the cell phone that I carry in my pocket, which is 2 generations old. I have the Samsung Galaxy 9 Plus, and they've got the Samsung Galaxy 20, which would effectively be the Samsung 11. So, they're 2 generations
They couldn't have just called it the 12? I hate
Why not
companies.
the 11?
Well, whatever number it was supposed to be, they had to call it the 20.
It's 2020. Maybe they're trying to indicate the years. I don't know. Yes, they changed it.
That's stupid.
Well,
it's like those horror movie series, those all movie series that will number like the first 3 or 4 of them and then suddenly start throwing subtitles out there and drop the numbers. It's like, no, you idiot. The more incarnations of this there are, the more you need the stupid number. Don't make 6 Halloween movies and then make Halloween Resurrection. Make Halloween 7. Don't make 11 models or 10 models of the Samsung Galaxy S and then suddenly make the Samsung Galaxy Special. Make the 11.
That's just you being neurotic. So in the case of a cell phone...
No, it's me asking for things to be simple and easily understood. Not for me to have to go, okay, well, which one of these is actually better? Which one is newer? Why is the 20 model newer than the older by a decade than the 24 model?
I don't need to collect cell phones. I'm not looking to get the Galaxy S1 and the Galaxy S2 and the Galaxy S3, which, by the way, I have.
I had the S3. These. It was when I started the Galaxy S series.
And
the S7 almost turned me off of it completely.
I didn't get a 7. The S3 is useless at this point. You can do nothing with it.
Oh, you can do plenty with it, Mark. Do you have one?
I have 2.
Do you want to get rid of them?
No, I've had Bitcoin wallets on those. I'm not giving them to you.
Oh, well, then they're not useless, are they, Mark?
If you have, I'm going to drill holes in them and put them and pour concrete on them.
I'm not going to do any of that nonsense. I'm going to use it as a phone. There's still plenty you can do with them.
Okay.
I mean, Slim ROMs still worked on the Samsung Galaxy S3.
We can discuss all that later. So the difference between, the movies, if you're watching Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to watch them in order.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with cell phones, it doesn't matter what the number they put behind it is.
It does to an extent. You wouldn't upgrade from a Samsung Galaxy S5 to a Samsung Galaxy S3.
We were talking about the breakneck speed of
because you know right offhand that the 3 is an older model of the 5.
Yes. We were talking about the breakneck speed of technology, and I would suggest that money is going to become obsolete in the next 50 years.
I think we will always have some sort of exchange system, some sort of...
I don't know what.
Common exchange system for
the
creation of art.
Well, maybe. Art certainly has its own, human-created things like art are going to have their own value, and that's interesting. And there may be very well, but you can't
right.
3D print food.
Instead of selling art for money, you might sell it for a like on Facebook or a like on Twitter. Okay, sure, you can have a copy of this novel, but instead of paying me, you have to go to my Twitter and follow me. Maybe we'll see that. Interesting perspective, Mark. The future is going to be interesting. 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she said, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she says it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I have been listening to the Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10. And the Dynavite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Another case of COVID-19 in the White House. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump's youngest son had the virus.
After his parents were diagnosed with COVID 2 weeks ago, Barron Trump did eventually test positive. First Lady Melania Trump confirming it, but saying the 14-year-old had no symptoms and has since tested negative. President Trump telling reporters outside the White House,
Barron's fine.
The First Lady released a written statement titled, My Personal Experience with COVID-19, also revealing that she did end up having what's described as a roller coaster of symptoms, including body aches, a cough, headaches, and feeling extremely tired most of the time. She, too, has since tested negative. Mrs. Trump says she's grateful for the care they received, thinks every day of the many affected by COVID, and is in even greater awe of caregivers and first responders everywhere. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The president now in Des Moines, Iowa, holding his third rally in 3 days. The Biden campaign put out a statement blasting the decision to hold the rally in a state that's seeing a rise in COVID-19. Day 2 of questioning for the president's pick for the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, where she was asked why she decided to go through with what some call a grueling process.
For me to say, I'm not willing to undertake it, even though I think this is something important, would be, a little cowardly. And, I wouldn't be answering a call to serve my country.
Judge Barrett is a mother of 7 and has said she has strong religious views, but she has said that those views are her own and would not presume to impose them on anyone. Some Democrats have expressed concerns that she would look to overturn Roe v. Wade due to her personal views. The Postal Service has agreed to reverse changes that slowed mail service nationwide, settling a lawsuit filed by Montana Governor Steve Bullock, which argued the changes impeded the ability of Montana residents to vote by mail. America is listening to Fox News.
Adjusting to a new normal means we need to be smart about how we do business. Thousands of small business owners have discovered the benefits of Stamps.com and kept their businesses running while avoiding trips to the post office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and you'll never pay full price, with access to discounted rates you can't even get at the post office, like 5 cents off every stamp and up to 62% off USPS and UPS shipping rates. Don't waste time at the post office or UPS store. Print official stamps and labels right from your home or office computer for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, just leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a free package pickup, or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. That's Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
A Wisconsin judge temporarily blocks Governor Tony Evers' indoor capacity limits put in place to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Sawyer County, Wisconsin Judge John Yackel temporarily blocks an order from Democratic Governor Tony Evers that limited the number of people to 25% in bars and restaurants and other public places, including churches and polling places, through November 6th. After the Tavern League of Wisconsin sued the state, saying the governor's orders amount to a de facto closure, though restrictions that Evers says are to help curb the spread of coronavirus in Wisconsin. The case is back in court next week. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A federal judge has extended the deadline for registering to vote in Virginia by 48 hours after the state's online voter registration system went down yesterday due to a fiber optic cable that was accidentally severed during a road construction project. A one-time candidate for governor of Idaho arrested for a cold case murder.
He ran twice.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Sources close to area man Michael Huesmer confirmed this week the unmotivated 29-year-old loser continues to waste his time living a contented life in his hometown near his closest friends and family members and has no intention of leaving. Former classmates told reporters the directionless bum has no ambition to leave his close-knit community for an expensive and stressful life in a big city and is apparently satisfied with remaining a pitiful nobody for the remainder of his unassuming existence.
While most of us with dreams got ourselves dingy apartments and soul-crushing jobs in the city years ago, Michael just stayed behind, happy to live his humdrum existence of regular contact with his parents and a town of people who express genuine appreciation for his presence. Honestly, it's pathetic.
In the time it took you to watch this video, you could have read one of Shakespeare's sonnets, listened to an etude by Chopin, or taken in one of the masterworks from the golden age of Dutch painting. The Onion applauds your excellent taste. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. With you tonight, it's Aria and Mark. And we're talking about Bitcoin here, as we tend to do. I think at one point, Urban Dictionary defined Free Talk Live as this talk show about pot and Bitcoin, if I remember correctly.
I didn't know that.
Coming to us from Winklevoss Capital, economic cycles are notoriously hard to predict, but over a long enough time horizon, they do happen. The Keynesian tools that governments can avail themselves of to soften down cycles are well understood. No, they're not. What is this guy? They are what is causing the cycles.
What is?
The boom and bust, the government's inflation, monetary policy, Keynesian economics. There is a certain amount of disequilibrium that occurs naturally.
I'm no fan of Maynard Keynes, right? But he gets a bad rap, especially from libertarians, because of his theories, which have been perverted by politicians and those that wish to benefit.
I would say this was intentional on the part of Keynes.
I don't think so. So Keynes suggested that that the government spend in times of need, and
because he thought spending was a catalyst of economic growth.
Agreed.
But it's savings,
and I think that spending is a catalyst of economic growth. However, but the government was supposed to pay off its debt in the times of plenty, and it did that for a time. If you
that would have been a very short time.
No, it's not. If you look at spending from the federal government and debt, a debt chart from the federal government, it goes up during the Civil War and then comes back down. It goes up during World War I and then it goes back down.
But that spending, that doesn't mean they're paying off their debt. It just means they're not spending as much on it.
No, it's the debt. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. It's the debt amount, the federal debt. And you look at it, it's high in World War I, then it gets spent down. High in World War II, then it gets spent down. And I can't remember where exactly. I think it's like the 1990s, essentially, that we begin with what effectively is called modern monetary theory, which is spend, spend, spend.
Isn't that what Keynes called his book?
He did, but they have perverted what he's done. I don't have any. Modern monetary theory looks nothing like what Maynard Keynes suggested.
Spending money, lowering taxes, and printing money, i.e. cutting rates, quantitative easing, and or adjusting cash reserve ratios for banks, are the major levers that governments can pull to counteract an economic contraction, or cause them. These strategies, however, have diminishing returns, and their ability to stimulate an economy depends upon how novel they are at the time they are being summoned. I don't think they've ever been successful at stimulating an economy. You can't slice a piece of pie into more slices to get more pie. And that's what all of those tactics he just mentioned do.
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh, well, you're really hungry tonight, so we're going to take your same size pizza and cut it into more slices, and now you have more pizza. You don't. Traditional wisdom dictates that during pro-business cycles, a government should run a budget surplus, either by spending frugally, saving prudently, or some combination thereof, and print money sparingly. The idea is to have enough dry powder lying around to help jumpstart the economy if and when it starts to go into a tailspin. Right. Sort of what you said.
Right.
That the idea is that, when times are bad, they would spend. When times are good, they would create a surplus.
But they don't.
No, of course they don't.
In this millennia, there hasn't been a single year that they have paid down the debt.
No, it's only gone up. As you said.
Only gone up. There was one time, in the 90s that supposedly
under Clinton, but that wasn't even Clinton's responsibility. That was because of the tech boom.
Right, and it's not even a good and people argue that in fact that had really nothing to that it wasn't even, it was just smoke and mirrors anyway. That didn't actually get paid off. But whatever, you want to give the credit, fine, give the credit to Clinton. I don't care.
Even before COVID-19, and despite the longest bull run in U.S. economic history, the government was spending money like a drunken sailor, cutting taxes like Crazy Eddie. Who is Crazy Eddie?
I don't know.
And printing money like a banana republic. Well, that only got worse during COVID-19. What began as a shot in the arm during the credit crisis of 2008 never stopped, despite the U.S. economy being out of the woods for years. And so what started as an acute prescription has morphed into chronic dependence and denial, a.k.a. addiction.
Right. This is basically the guy who goes out and drinks all night long before he has to get to work and wakes up with a pounding headache and solves the problem by downing, 5 shots before he goes to work. I mean,
yeah,
and
the guy became an addict because he liked drinking after a particularly rough day at work or whatever. And then he stopped having those rough days at work and he kept drinking.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he's got a hangover, so he drinks some more. See Exhibit A every time the Fed tried to rein in quantitative easing pre-COVID-19, markets recoiled viscerally and became combative. And if stock market gains are your measure of success, you will not choose to upset the apple cart. Even if it's wildly untethered to reality, you will naturally avoid a painful intervention and rehabilitation and continue to kick the can down the road as long as you can.
Yeah, my friend, the Liberty Advisor, is a financial advisor, and he says, there may never be, because of the way federal government is printing money, and thus the stock value, is it just continues to go up.
It's measured in dollars. Yeah,
it's measured in dollars, so it gets more and more difficult to understand what something's worth. He's like, there may never be a bear market again. Who knows? Maybe they just keep printing money.
That seems to be what they want to do. According to the U.S. National Bureau of Economic Research, the U.S. recession that began in December 2019 ended by July 2009. Nevertheless, Treasury ran a budget deficit every year since, which in aggregate more than doubled the government's debt to $22 trillion by the start of 2020. In addition, Trump's Treasury's ability to collect money...
Oh, the good old days at the early 2020 when the debt was only $22 trillion, and now it's 27.
Yeah.
Like I said, in the last year, a quarter of the debt was
I think it's closer to 20%.
It's higher.
The story that we covered here with Ian sitting here said 20%.
I think is what it said, but...
there's no point in squabbling over it. Yeah. A ridiculous amount of money, a Banana Republic amount of money was created this year.
Right. And if your stocks didn't go up by basically a third, because if you go from 3 to 4, you have increased by a third, right. but the amount that is increased is only a quarter. Anyway,
I know percentages are weird, man. I get what you're saying.
So if your stocks didn't increase by a third, well, what happened? Sounds to me like they went down.
Well, the people who did luck out and take my advice on this matter when the government really began printing this massive amount of money and they used that $1,200 stimulus check to buy Bitcoin are probably pretty happy with that decision because it was like $7,000 then, and now it's almost double that. Well, no, it's not almost double that. It's probably 50% above that.
Like 11,000.
It's outpaced the growth of inflation at the very least. So the Treasury's ability to collect money was attenuated in 2017. Congress reduced the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% by passing the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which really only lowered corporate taxes. It probably created no new jobs, but they wrote a number down.
I'm thinking about this, what you said, your advice to people when the stimulus check came out. So it was 2 checks for $1,200 a piece?
It was 1 check for an individual of $1,200.
Okay, it wasn't
And
2?
I received mine on like May the 2nd.
I thought we got 2 checks at my house. Anyway, whatever the case may be, if you took that $1,200 when Bitcoin was at 7,000, I'm reading a headline here from,
I think it was about 7,500.
Whatever it is. I'm reading a headline from Crypto News Flash. Citibank forecasts Bitcoin price at 120,000 by 2021. Now, if you wanted me to, I would not make that prediction.
I would not either.
But that's the headline that I just read. And do I think that Bitcoin could reach 120,000? Yes, I just don't feel like it could do it by next year.
If it does it by next year, it will mean that something very bad, something very destructive has happened in the U.S. economy. Something like massive amounts of inflation.
It could mean that institutional investors, it's been open, the Bitcoin investment has been open to institutional investors, and a bunch of money poured in and demand increased. Remember, there's 21 million Bitcoins that can be created, and there's right now 21 million millionaires in the world. There may come a time when every millionaire wants a Bitcoin. What will that do to the price?
855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of U.S. dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. U.S. Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the U.S. dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Maxwell, she was scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the grain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. Again, that toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Mark.
And AnyPay 2.0 is here, and crypto payments are now faster than ever. I mean, they really are.
They really are.
I bought something earlier today with Bitcoin Cash, and it popped up as paid on the cashier's end before my wallet even told me the transaction had been sent.
Wow.
If you're using Edge Wallet, Hand Cash...
I love Edge Wallet.
I do too. It's the one I use. Bitcoin.com or the Dash Wallet. Your experience should be smooth, but some wallets aren't ready for this impressive new technology. These wallet programmers need to hear from you, the wallet users. Visit anypayinc.com/upgrade to learn why some popular wallets are incompatible with AnyPay 2.0 and reach out to the wallet programmers and encourage them to make payments perfect at anypayinc.com/upgrade. I'm not kidding when I say it's lightning fast. And you no longer have to tell the cashier what crypto you want to use. You just say, I want to use AnyPay, or I want to use cryptocurrency.
I'm so grateful to be involved with anypayinc.com. They are really on the cutting edge of creating the technology that we need to transition from this world of, old tech paper money to new digital currency that empowers people. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of a digital currency because they feel like it can be tracked, but those people don't understand what cryptocurrency is. Because it empowers the individual in just about every way.
It does. Well, most people don't realize what the great big problem with our current situation, with our current economic system really is. I mean, most people never run into a bank telling them, no, you can't spend your money. You can't send this amount of money to this person. You can't do it. Most people have never encountered that, but it happens all the time. And by the time you will encounter it, you'll finally be like, oh, God, this can't work.
Yeah, I think the average person, what they're concerned with is trying to keep their bank balance above zero so that they don't get late charges. And that is how one of the ways that banks actually keep their lights on. I mean, if you think about all the branches of the bank or credit union or whatever that you have, and maybe it's only one, but I mean, think about that building. How many people are in that building? And they're all getting paid $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, if not more. And the lights have to be kept on, the computers have to be paid for, and everything in there. They're not doing that with a $15 overdraft charge from you once every 6 months. They're doing that some other way, and that's a terrifying notion. Because the service of keeping your money safe and allowing you to transact through checks and digitally and all that other stuff, that's not cheap. Where's it come from?
It's not, but Bitcoin makes it fairly cheap.
Bitcoin is a technology that basically makes banking obsolete. Yeah. Not to say that you wouldn't. So you'll always need somebody to protect your wealth. You don't want to keep, let's say you have $100,000 in Bitcoin.
Well, don't put it all in the same wallet.
Well, don't leave it at your house. I mean, the old method of getting somebody's Bitcoin wallet is walking in and hitting them in the knee with a wrench until they give it to you.
Well, don't tell people you have 100,000 Bitcoin.
Agreed, but it's hard to be active in the cryptocurrency community and not have people believe that you have some.
Okay. Fair.
And the Andreas Antonopoulos, one of the biggest names in Bitcoin, shocked the world a few years ago when he said he had spent all the Bitcoin that he had ever gotten and he had basically none. And a fundraiser was done and it raised $1 million for him just to give him some money, just to give him some Bitcoin so he can say that he had it. And he was obviously terribly grateful. And if he kept that $1 million in Bitcoin, then he is quite wealthy right now. But not everybody kept it, but everybody believed that Andreas Antonopoulos had all that money.
Interesting. Well, let's go to the phones. We got Rob calling from Vermont. Rob, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi guys. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's on your mind?
I'm sorry. I sound horrible. I had a cold the last.
You got the COVIDs? Dear God, I feel a scratch in the back of my throat just talking to you.
Hey, look, I've been listening to you guys here since the show started, and you've been talking about the debt that that we're in the United States.
Well, that the American government is in. I'm not in debt.
Yeah. Right, yeah. But I mean, I think that all could be all cleared up if they legalized cannabis and legalized hemp. I mean, look at how well Colorado's doing.
Oh, so regulate and tax.
Well, I mean, they're doing that. I mean, that's basically the only path to being able to get legalized weed is regulate and tax.
I mean, we could burn the White House down.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think we should. I'm just saying it could be done.
Well,
I don't know that that's going to stop marijuana laws.
If you burn enough of the buildings, it might.
Go ahead.
A lot of people probably are not aware of this, but cannabis laws changed over here last week.
Where's here?
It's full. Yes, it's
Rob in Vermont.
Yeah. Okay.
Over in Vermont. Yeah.
Yeah, it's recreationally legal there now, right?
Yeah. Now New Hampshire is surrounded by states that have recreational marijuana, while New Hampshire lags behind. I really hate this.
New Hampshire doesn't even have medical, do they?
They have medical, but they have no dispensaries, so they effectively do not have medical.
That's so stupid.
But
that's such a monumental failure on the part of the Free State Project.
They're not really, indeed. I mean, it's not a failure of the Free State Project. It's an indication the Free State Project doesn't have the kind of jug that it needs to have, and
sure,
it's just
which is a failure of the Free State Project.
Okay,
so that was the whole point.
But I right now I could next year fill up my whole yard if I want a couple of acres of ball pot. And sell it right out here in front of my driveway. They got a tax on it.
Up here in rural New Hampshire, we have these little huts that little kiosks that people put out in front of their houses. Usually they have some kind of berries in them or chicken eggs or something like that. You get a carton of eggs, you leave $4 in the jar, and it's basically
an honor system?
An honor system, essentially. Yep. I just wonder if you could put little bags of weed out there at the honor system.
Rob, thank you so much for the call. Yeah, it's weird that New Hampshire is surrounded by all of these states where pot is now legal recreationally, and as you said, I assumed they didn't have legal marijuana because there are no dispensaries. Where the hell are the dispensaries? Is there not one in the entire state of New Hampshire?
I'm not the one to ask about marijuana laws in New Hampshire because it's just not my thing. But I can tell you that New Hampshire lags severely behind Massachusetts, Maine, and Vermont, and frankly Quebec, where it's completely surrounded by places where one can smoke weed recreationally, but not in this little jurisdiction here. Now, the enforcement here isn't very vigilant.
Well, how could you enforce that? We have people from Mass and Vermont and Maine in New Hampshire all the time.
There are people who work in one, send their kids to school in another, and then live in another.
It's almost unenforceable. Why not go ahead and legalize it?
I don't know. Why did Massachusetts make guns illegal? Vermont and New Hampshire, basically, you could, for years, you could get whatever you wanted and just go across the border.
You can still do that, can't you? If you're a New Hampshire resident?
Well, those mass hole cops will stop you looking for fireworks and whatever.
855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live.
On a multidimensional probe, the Syscov Trans-Temporal Vehicle Clio discovers 2 entire universes have been annihilated in a massive time-traveling accident. Robert Kaminsky and his crew race home with the news, only to learn their own universe is next. To pull off the impossible, they'll have to embrace the unpalatable by placing their trust in the admin, Syscov's xenophobic sister universe, and the same people who tried to kill them all only months before. The Valkyrie Protocol by David Weber and Jacob Hollow. Available October 6th, wherever books are sold. Visit Bainbooks at Bain.com for more.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of US dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. US Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the US dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. It's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Arya and Mark, and we are 8 months into this coronavirus crap. But ForkFest this year went on just like it has every other year, and as far as we can tell, it's going to happen in 2021 as well. You can join us from June the 28th through July the 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It may be the only thing you can do next year as well. It was one of the few things people could do this year. It's just the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It's decentralized, so there's no ticket cost. No one is in charge. All you have to do is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June the 28th through July the 4th. And we're better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can just relax and go camping, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event, though, let others know in advance. You can do all of that through forkfest.party and the unofficial Forkfest forum and the unofficial Telegram chat. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party, June the 28th through July the 4th. I can't wait for it. But we are 8 months into this coronavirus crap. Since the first corona case was reported in the United States, it has been nearly 8 months, and yet experts forecast that we will
just 14 days to flatten the curve.
That's what we were told, man. And we were discussing this during a break, but it's something we're talking about on air. I watched a lot of the videos from this guy called Brandon Ferris. He's really, really funny. One of the funniest people I found on YouTube. And he's got videos from 6 months ago that I never watched because I just recently discovered him. So I was going back and watching some of those, and he makes this joke where he opens the door to go mingle with people and goes, "Oh, I can't do this. I'll talk to you in 14 days. That was 6 months ago.
Yeah. And there are places where people are literally still locked down, that businesses aren't able to open. And I was just listening. Australia is going to keep some level of lockdown going for all of 2021 until they find a vaccine. Now, when they said...
the issue with the vaccine is, as far as I understand it, is that it will have to be repeated. Because the antibodies don't last forever. They have a half-life of something like 43 days or something like that.
The chances are that the vaccine is just nonsense that is intended to make people feel better. But that just shows the intense level of fear that's going on over this virus. If you look at the deaths in the United States...
I'm not in the least concerned about this freaking virus. I'm concerned about the government and how scared everyone else is over this stupid virus.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you look at the deaths, it's basically over. Like... It's just, it's time to return to normal, ladies and gentlemen.
I agree. It sucks that 200,000 or however many people died who probably wouldn't have died this year. Maybe
they wouldn't have died on that day.
Yeah. Maybe they died earlier than they're going to.
Remember that the vast majority of them, so about 10,000 of them are listed as dying from coronavirus only. And then the rest of them died of other causes and coronavirus.
Well, they were always upfront about that. That wasn't news. The fact that so many people didn't understand what they were reading when that news first came out is what the news was.
I understand, but people don't seem to understand anything.
No, because people are still, like the CNN article or the whoever article that ran the other day saying, oh, well, look, we found that 60-something% of people who contract coronavirus were wearing masks at all times. And people saw this. I told you masks didn't work. You morons. I don't know how many other ways we can say this. The mask was never about protecting you from getting coronavirus.
Yeah.
There's so much misinformation and misunderstanding about this.
Most of the people who are getting coronavirus are getting it from their family members at home where you're not wearing a mask.
Sure, but the mask isn't going to help you anyway.
Well, it's not. If it does anything, it may help you only marginally, very, very small. What it's intended to do is help the other person not get it.
Well, it's to help them not spread it if they have it.
Right.
It does nothing for preventing.
If you've got COVID, you most assuredly should be wearing a mask. Right?
Sure.
But you should be quarantining too. Quarantines are for sick people, not for whole damn societies. That never in the course of the word quarantine have you ever locked down the planet and destroyed the economy.
I think it did happen like during the bubonic plague.
Well,
but that killed a lot of people.
I don't know that there was a quarantine during the bubonic plague.
I'm pretty sure Venice locked down.
Well, maybe places locked down, but whatever. It was the killing of cats.
What we have here isn't really a quarantine either. It's a government lockdown.
Yes,
we're not really.
But they call it
you and I are here. They're calling this a quarantine, but you and I are sitting here talking.
Right. They called it a quarantine at one point, but they abandoned that terminology because it's not a quarantine by its definition. It is a new and different thing, which is a government lockdown, intending to stop the spread of coronavirus. And if they had actually locked down for 2 weeks, and by that I mean nobody leaves their house, no cops, no Grocery store clerks, nobody. You eat what you got. Remember that can of beans that's sitting in the back of the pantry? Eat it. Whatever it is, you got nothing. If they would have actually locked down like that, maybe they would have been able to put a dent in this virus. But you can't do half measures and expect anything.
Yeah, I have to agree. If they had locked down completely, I would have opposed it tooth and nail. I would have fought to the death to oppose that.
I'm against it from the standpoint of of freedom today. But I will tell you, way back then, I was ready to give them their 2 weeks. I stayed in.
It would have probably worked.
I followed the rules for 2 weeks. And I
did not. I'm the reason it didn't work, Mark.
No, you're not. But the rules were dumb. I was going to the grocery store every other day. I was wearing, I was cleaning my hands and wearing a mask and doing whatever. It wasn't me that was spreading it. I have, to the best of my knowledge, haven't caught this particular virus. I haven't tested myself either, but I don't feel ill and haven't felt ill. So, if everybody would have locked down, on the other hand, and they actually would, because it doesn't matter that one person didn't or did lock down. What matters is they never put the rule out in the first place. And if they wanted to, they could have just said, hey, it's legal to murder somebody who's not on their property. We're just not going to enforce it. Have fun. And then you could have had the hunters out there, the people that actually want to do some kind of murdering or something. They'd be out there killing people off. And this time, whatever. It would have worked.
That would have worked. That would have kept me the hell at home, for sure. And it would have made an excellent argument for why the government is every bit as immoral as anyone could ever be. So we're 8 months into this now, and according to Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, in an interview with MSNBC, he said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of the year. So perhaps another entire year of this nonsense.
Right.
I have never so strongly resisted the urge to shout expletives on Free Talk Live as I did as I read that statement.
Think about the places and the businesses that benefit from tourism and travel and these sorts of things. Airlines, decimated. Cruise companies, basically out of business.
Hotels, decimated.
Saipan, where I'm a resident, the only reason they're surviving is because the federal government's sending money. They literally, they would have to figure out a whole new ways to survive because 90% of their GDP was tourism.
By the end of this year, there will be nearly 500,000 dead from the novel coronavirus in the United States if social distancing mandates continue to ease and without universal masking, according to the most recent forecast by the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. And we totally promise those numbers aren't pulled out of our rears and they're legitimate, and you have no reason whatsoever to question their validity.
So they just made stuff up.
Yes. If that they created an equation, they assumed a bunch of variables.
They said 2 million people were going to die.
And they did some math. And they said, this is our estimate. And everybody said, okay, yeah, well, sure.
They basically said 2 million people were going to die, and we hope we can get it down to 200,000. They did get it down to 200,000, and now it's Trump's fault.
If that dark prophecy comes to be, nearly 3,000 people will be dying every single day from COVID, more than triple the current rate.
Wait, okay, so I was going to say more than 3,000 people in the United States die every day already.
How many? What?
Well, between 50 and 60,000 people die in America every week. Okay. So, that you do the division, something like 7,500 people die every day.
I guess we're still talking. I've got no music.
Power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's MyPatriotSupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. MyPatriotSupply.com.
There's nothing worse than thinking that your Medicare benefits are going to cover routine medical expenses like vision, dental, and prescription benefits, only to find that when an emergency arises, your Medicare plan is full of gaps that don't even begin to cover your medical emergency. How would it feel to have to go into debt because your Medicare program didn't cover everything 100%? Studies show that 95% of Medicare recipients pay more than $5,000 per year on out-of-pocket medical expenses. At snapmedicare.com, we understand how important it is for you to be prepared for any type of medical emergency. All it takes is a quick phone call to 800-286-5516 to find out exactly where you stand with your Medicare coverage and to save thousands on future costs. Call 800-286-5516 to make sure your Medicare plan includes provisions to cover any gap in coverage. Whether you have questions about Part A or Part B Medicare coverage, remember, call 800-286-5516. SnapMedicare.com. Call 800-286-5516.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. If you're quick, you can still get on the air with us. Just call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. It's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. And with you, it's Aria.
And Mark.
And I want to say thank you to Eric Haley, who is tonight's amplifier. That means he's a member of the, or she is a member of the AMP program that you can find at amp.freetalklive.com. All we ask to join the program is $5 per month, but Eric has decided to be more generous than that and is giving us $10 per month and is a gold level member. Eric, thank you so much. This means that he's a member of the, as I said, the AMP program. It's money that is used strictly to advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. It helps us get on more radio stations. So if you like the show, if you like what we're doing, check it out. It's amp.freetalklive.com. It only costs $5 per month, and you can get your name read out on the radio if you want, or you can just join the AMP-only Facebook group or the other cool little features. It's amp.freetalklive.com. Thank you so much, Eric. Let's go to the phones. We've got David calling from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
The court report. I had court today. It was pretty educational. But first
was it
of all,
court in real life or court on like Zoom?
Zoom is real life, dude.
They'll really throw you in jail.
Well, I'm going to do jail on Zoom, man.
I like that argument.
Yeah.
If you want to give me a court trial on Zoom, fine. I will do my jail time on Zoom.
Right, and I want work release too, dude.
On Zoom.
Yeah. But so the biggest lesson. Oh, first of all, did anybody else attend by chance? I supplied you with the call-in information.
Was that via email?
Yeah, I sent you guys, and I said it on air. Anybody can look at it. It's just like walking into the courthouse in
I gotta tell
New
you,
Mexico.
if you email me, it's gonna get filtered directly into my trash.
Yeah, all I can tell you, David, is I get 200 emails a day, and I just can't keep up. I just don't know how to do it. I'm at my wit's end when it comes to emails. I'm about ready to tell, unsubscribe from everything and tell everybody else, just change my email address to something else.
This is why you use multiple email addresses, Mark.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, well, and you don't even need that anyway. If anybody is interested in sitting in the courtroom virtually, it's you can do it all by looking on the web. You just look at the nmcourts.gov website, you do a case lookup for my name, Olson David, find my cases, what judge, what date,
what
time.
happened? What happened at the event, though, David?
Well, the educational thing is everybody. This will interest everybody, or at least everybody who gets in trouble from time to time. In a 10-minute period, there were 4 cases of the approximately 7 cases that were being called in this afternoon session. 4 of them were dismissed in a 10-minute period because the cop didn't show up in those 4 cases, and so the judge is like dismissed, 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 dismissed. And they were all, it was all real stuff like DWI cases.
Wow.
Just gone out. Yeah. So the lesson is stand up to them, make them show their cards. And if the cop doesn't show up, then dismiss, depending on what judge you get.
That's what I had always been told about court. Just always request a trial, and when you get there, chances are the cop won't show up. And worst case scenario is they find you guilty anyway. But that's the same as pleading guilty.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, you don't have to take it. That it's best not to take the initial offer in anything, right? Like you wouldn't just fold your poker hand because the other guy said, "Okay, I'll call that," or whatever. I mean, I don't know exactly how poker works, but
that was evident. So no worries.
On the first round, you wouldn't just fold your cards every time, So if it's worth fighting, fight it.
They've pushed multiple offers at me already, and I've said, oh, let me see that. Yeah, I'm real interested in looking at that. Yeah, that looks real good. No. And so yeah,
what are they threatening you with here, David?
So this is the case where you called into a radio program. They told you not to call back. You didn't call back, but you did call into the station later on a different program. And they said that they, just out of whole cloth made that up as, violating the rule, came after you on it. And now they're threatening you with a couple of years in prison for making a telephone call.
3 years, yeah.
For a telephone call to a publicly funded radio station run on a publicly funded university. And obviously all of that's ridiculous. But what what was the question, Ari? I've lost my train of thought.
I asked him what they were threatening him with, but you got the answer out. 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
they're threatening me with telephone harassing, annoying, whatever it's called.
So was this the case, or
is annoying people against the law, David?
Yes, it is. In New Mexico, if you annoy somebody on the telephone, you have broken the law, sir. I mean, ma'am.
I will keep that in mind, David.
What?
Yeah.
Only if you make the call. Yeah, I can be as annoying as I want on this end of it.
But David can't.
Well, he can because we will not go after him for calling. And plus, you can always hang up.
I don't mind David calling. So
this is just another preliminary hearing, right? This isn't the case being held.
Today was a pre-trial conference, is what they entitled this one.
And what occurred?
what happens at a pretrial conference. Oh, here's another thing that people will want to know. Another way to bust the state is that you're entitled to discovery, full discovery, which means witness interviews and belt tapes and video and 911 calls. And these prosecutors, like Sarah Burton or Mr. Nickerson, they never collect all of the evidence that they are bound by law to supply to you, the defense. They never get it all.
So what happened in this conference, in this pretrial conference?
In the conference, the judge says to the state, where are you at on this case, state? And the state says, blah, blah, blah. And then the judge says, defense, where are you at on your discovery? And the defense says, we still need this, and this, and this. And then that's basically it.
And so they tell the state that they have to come up with this, and this, and this. And then, of course, these bureaucrats who have, huge caseloads and really don't care about their jobs because they're miserable, miss another conference and another conference and another conference because they haven't got everything to you. And a case that was supposed to be a speedy trial drags out for 3 or 4 years.
Tragic. David, I hope it works out for you, man. You can't let the lesbian gay Nazis out there win. Moving right along, by the end of the year, Mark, you left me tumbleweeds, man.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what.
Way to be a co-host, man. By now, the evidence is clear. Lockdowns work. We know that. Now you're laughing. Great. We know that strict lockdowns worked in China. Oh my God, they actually said that.
The strict lockdowns worked in China.
Yes.
Okay.
Slowing down how fast the virus spreads in Wuhan, the unprecedented 76-day lockdown in which people were barred from leaving the city or their homes except once every 3 days for food, stopped new infections by 2/3.
Well, yeah, but I mean, infections managed to get out of there, so it wasn't particularly useful. They should have locked down the whole country and then told the rest of the world to lock down too. But instead, they kept the little mouths shut, and this pandemic raged on.
It sounds like what this article is arguing is that, we flattened the curve, but we need to flatten it more.
Well, so the only thing that I will concede is that a full-fledged lockdown would have been successful. It's just that government doesn't have what it takes to do it. They simply can't do it. They'd rather do half measures for 2 years than to do the job right for 2 weeks. And they'll never not be that way.
They need to be able to save face. They need to be able to look like they're doing something without making it obvious that what they're doing is tyranny. So they have to try to ride that middle fence between the two things.
Right. I mean, if and I made the argument before and I'll make it again, if there was an argument for the state, it was a global pandemic. And we now have had not the global pandemic, but at very least the test for a global pandemic. And we know how the state's going to do. Every single day that the sun rises, they could do this right, and they won't. So, why bother? It's not worth it. At this point, the deaths have diminished to the point that they're basically at the excess death line. Who cares? What are you worried about? This was an acceptable amount of deaths for this week anyway.
Now, the people of Wuhan, whose lives were brought for a couple of months to a halt, are now going to the movies while we in the U.S. are trapped in never-ending Zoom meetings. That's not true at all. I ate at a restaurant today. I went to the movies not too long ago.
Florida's open.
Yeah, the theaters are open.
Saipan is open.
You can go to movies.
New Hampshire is open.
This has been Free Talk Live. Head on over, check out the AMP program. Once more time, that's amp.freetalklive.com.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out innercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
She's cleared the first hurdle. I'm Lisa.